What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about a company named PLAY2EARN. This is a partner of the channel that I genuinely believe has potential to reach those upper echelons of, the Web3, the DeFi gaming, the play-to-earn space. We, of course, have seen a lot of companies come up in that space, and some have done extremely well, and some have failed. And what it seems like is that they're taking a lot of those successes and taking a lot of those failures, using them as lessons to build out their own company. And I genuinely think that's the way that we will truly see some of these play-to-earn and DeFi companies actually do well going through 2024, 2025, 2026, etc. So again, I wanted to bring them to the channel today, tell you a little bit about them. We haven't done a Web3 game in a minute, so I thought that this would be a pretty cool addition on this fine weekend here. So with that said, of course, let's get started. So as I mentioned before, we are going to be talking today about PLAY2EARN. Now, before we talk about the token, let's just get an idea of what it is that they're building. Now, what you can see, of course, is that they're building a rather similar overall ecosystem to what we've seen before. They're going to have their NFT-based play-to-earn game that's going to also come with a metaverse, which they call the Pikaverse, and then there will be rewards being rewarded in the native token, the Pika token. But what we're going to go ahead and do is let me actually play you the trailer so you can just get a feel for what this game looks like, how it feels like, so you understand that this is something that's actually had a lot of work put into it. So let's just go ahead and play the trailer here, just so you can go ahead and check it out. And there you go. And that kind of gives you a good little feel for the game. And it's, again, somewhat similar to what we've seen before, but it has its own feel to it. It has its own vibe to it to some degree. And it's also something that just looks better than a lot of the ones that we've seen already, right? It looks like an actual game that I would see people playing on their phone, which is a good thing because we want to see that real world integration within the Web3 space, right? Now, obviously, the biggest thing that you have to pay attention to with a company like this one is that they actually developed the game. We've seen companies say they were going to, but then haven't. But the fact that they're already putting out trailers, putting out live footage from the game itself is a good sign, especially with the amount of money that they've raised, that they're probably going to be able to get this thing developed, finished, and launched, and people will actually be able to see that utility in action. Now, a couple interesting thoughts about it, of course, is the fact that they are going to be taking kind of that NFT-based route, which is going to help a lot, especially when you do introduce the world of NFTs within your play-to-earn game, but like actual NFTs that have use within the game, is it will help to some degree with fundraising that will also continuously fund the game, as well as other advertising opportunities and things like that to keep, of course, the revenue generating so that the rewards can continue to be generated. But on top of that, what I will say is that they are working with Kavuru Games, and that did kind of flash to me because I thought that was important because I know that they've worked with some pretty big people. I mean, what you can see here is they've worked to help release the Star Wars games. We, of course, also saw them working with Fortnite on Fortnite Season 10, which is pretty damn big. Undead Blocks is another game I've seen over the streaming world, right? Things like that. And the fact that they've worked with some of these really big companies to put out their games just goes to show that they're going to have that experience backing them to make smart decisions that are going to overall streamline the process of getting this thing out there, which is the whole thing, right? We want to see the game launched. We want to see it live. We want to see it in effect, and they are taking the right steps to get there. Now, kind of going forward a little bit, like I mentioned before, not only are they going to be doing the game, but there's going to be the native Pika token, which is going to be a part of the game and is going to be a, kind of, again, the native currency of the entire ecosystem. Now, it's currently in their pre-sale phase, and what you can see, it's in pre-sale phase 3, and this thing has raised $5.1 million. It was at $4.7 million just yesterday. So they're moving, and they're moving very fast with this thing. Coming to a close on phase 3 it seems pretty soon here, which is a good sign because they will have some revenue to use as we do, of course, get started, and as we do, of course, see them starting to launch the game, launch the token, things of that nature. Now, speaking of the token itself, what you can see is that they are going to be adding some utility pretty soon thereafter in the launch, right? They, of course, are going to have the staking, which will obviously be important for the game, but on top of that, they're also talking about different things that they can use. They've announced a marketplace that they're planning on developing. They're saying that they want to be on a tier 1 within just a week or two after launching itself, which is also going to be, a big milestone. That's not an easy milestone to accomplish, but with the connections that they clearly have and with the money that they clearly have, it's a very possible milestone to reach, right? Things like that are going to be an extremely good sign that they're going to make progress with this token rather fast, which is the reason why I am pretty bullish on it, and I think that it can do well. I actually think that it can do well to the point that we actually made a post about it over in HG Access. You guys know that that's the server where where not only just me, but it's a bunch of other creators. We're all giving alpha to the server. And I mean, we generate big gains, like really, really big gains. I'm talking, you know, like even if we just kind of scroll down from just the last 2 days, like 72% there, 107% there, 140% there, 126% there, 10% there, right? Like, these gains aren't easy to come by, and the fact that we're so confident in, you know, what we're seeing from Pika, that we're willing to put an alpha report out and an alpha call out over an HGX should tell you how serious I am, in the sense of what I'm saying, that I genuinely think that they can do extremely well. Now, if we are kind of in the world and in the realm of making some comparisons, obviously they actually did make a post recently kind of comparing their presale and what they're doing to Sandbox, because Sandbox is probably the most notable Web3 game that, you know, or Web3 metaverse / game that there's ever really been, and kind of alongside Axie Infinity. And so I think that it is at least worth looking into, so you can get a feel for how much the opportunity could, you know, or how big the opportunity could be. So what we're going to kind of look at here is, of course, step number 1 is investment raised. They go on to say that Sandbox only raised $3 million in 2020, and obviously we saw them already getting close to $6 million. The community is a lot bigger, and I will admit it also is a lot bigger. One thing that you need to understand, though, is that the world of Web3, play to earn, all that stuff is bigger now, so obviously the community should be bigger, but I do think it is worth, again, noting, like they did, that the community is a lot bigger, right? You can see that Sandbox are getting 20K views per post, which is just a 2% engagement rate. They're getting currently a 33% engagement rate, and it is a little different. Sandbox has been established and Pika's rather new, but it is important to notice the hype and the excitement, because that's what fuels growth, of course. Going forward, what you can see here is that, again, the developers. The Sandbox team was unknown during the pre-sale, whereas Pikamoon came out saying they're working with Kavuru Games, who've worked with some of these extremely big companies. Moving down here, of course, what you can see here is that the partner and team. Pikamoon goes out to say that they are docs. Not only are they just docs, but their owner actually goes and makes videos rather often. He's fully public, fully forward facing, showing people who he is, putting his name behind this thing, and being willing to put himself out there, which is a good sign, and it's a testament that he's ready to stand by his company. And it was similar to what we saw from Sandbox as well. Of course, market cap, Pika is launching at just a $35 million market cap, whereas Sand is currently at a huge $750 million market cap, which is 21x bigger than what Pika's going to be at, right? And so when you gauge community, when you gauge the money that they have, the network, the development, with all those things being better, is Sandbox really worth 21 times more? That's what we're going to have to figure out when the value does turn into this thing. And then that's what's going to be interesting to see if Pika can hit that 10x, 15x, 20x to really start trying to capitalize and grow to become a competitor, or not a computer, a competitor in this market. And then lastly, again, just the opportunity. You can see here that right now, just 20% of the Pika presale tokens are available before they sell out and launch a token. They will become a serious player in the GameFi space, and of course, challenging for the top spots with market caps similar to Sand. So overall, again, as I've said, they are taking every necessary step that you can possibly think of. They're learning from something like Sandbox, learning from the companies before them, using those lessons to then build forward, go forward, and adapt and evolve, in a sense that they can use those lessons to avoid those problems, and by avoiding those problems, save themselves money, time, energy, and effort that can be used into compounding growth, which is what I personally love to see, which is, again, why I partnered them. Now, speaking of that, they actually did give us a little bit of alpha to share with you guys, and this actually is more about the Pika Moon dashboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play this for you, just so you can see what this is. This is actually very, very important, because it just goes to show a little bit more as to what they're really intending to do in terms of the dashboard. And it also goes to show, as you can see here, that the development is in place. This isn't something they're just saying they're going to do. It's actively being developed. They have the money to develop it clearly. They have the network. They have the developers. And all of this is going to allow themselves to bridge from just a normal game to a play to earn game that actually generates results and rewards, which is huge, right? And so overall, my opinion about this is that it could do very well. I know they're running huge marketing. They have a huge budget. They're doing extremely well from that degree. And I do believe that at a $35 million market cap, that a $100 million market cap is possible, but obviously they just have to follow the correct steps to get there. So we're going to definitely be keeping an eye on it. As I mentioned before, we did mention it down in HG Access below. If you want access to the different alpha reports and calls and things of that nature that are generating people a lot of gains, make sure you go check that out down there as well. But with that said, of course, I hope you guys did enjoy today's update and video about Pikamoon. Thank you, of course, to them for being an amazing partner of the channel, and well, of course, I will see you all next time. Peace out, everybody.